Hello everybody, James here, Storytime with Dutch Mantell, episode 118. Dutch, don't you start coughing because you're going to set me off, man.
Are you sick?
Yeah, sick and tired of... not of this show, though. Don't you worry about that. How are you, more importantly? The teeth are back?
The teeth are back. My daughter didn't take them this morning, so now people can understand me. So, wife's out of the hospital. She's home now, so I won't be hollering, screaming in here. But and I want to thank everybody for supporting me during that time, because hey, the wrestling business, you don't make millions and millions and millions of dollars. Not everybody makes that, and especially when the government messes with you about saying, "Oh, your insurance won't cover this and this and this and this," then you're left to cover it. So. And that was worth it. But thanks to wrestling fans, they helped me get through it. So I'm good for the time being. Yeah, thank everybody.
If you want to know what the money's going towards, Amanda, Dutch's daughter, has written a lengthy sort of explanation on the GoFundMe. So it's not just for the medical stuff that's already happened and may happen in the future. There's going to be sort of a couple of just helping bits and bats to help you at home, sort of after 50 years of taking bumps in the ring as well. So just things just make your life a little bit easier, which is a good thing as well.
Yeah, it's a good thing I have my daughter, really. She's a good girl, and she hasn't worked in four months, maybe going on 5 months now, taking care of me, taking care of her mother. So I appreciate her for doing that, and I love her to death.
Now, we're doing a sort of a truncated, if you like that word, Dutch, a bit of an episode.
Hey, that's short. That means shortened.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that word.
You know, I've had to do that with Stevie
What's
Richards.
That?
Just sort of, do you like that word? And he doesn't react at all. He doesn't know what I'm talking about.
What the hell?
I know. So anyway, it's good that you're back and we can amuse each other with words.
Truncated, but actually, I knew what that meant.
It's a good word, though. It's always good to throw
it is a good word. Very good word. How is Stevie's podcast going?
Really well, in fact. Incredibly well. Yeah, we got 10,000 subscribers in the last few weeks.
Whoa!
So we're sort of we're climbing quicker than I thought we would, actually. So that's a rewarding, a rewarding experience. And yesterday I was recording with him, and about amazingly 2 hours in, because for whatever reason I thought this will be a shorter show, and somehow it ended up being the longest one ever. And then 2 hours in, my head just started going, and went, oh no, I'm feeling really ill, and I managed to get through it. And then I was half thinking, should we? But the thing is, when you're self-employed, Dutch, you don't get sick.
Well, sometimes you can't afford to. There's no telling how many matches I made sick, because if you don't go years ago, you didn't get paid, period. So if you had a full week's bookings and you got sick half the week, well, you'd get a half a check.
Do you ever have to do the flu game or something like that? You know, what was the sickest you were when you wrestled and just had to do it?
Oh, I've been really, I never really got that sick. I was not to where I was bedridden or anything, but yeah, I've been running a fever sometimes and wrestled. But I was younger then. You could get by with that stuff. So, but you still guys. Hey, don't come to the ring with the flu. Don't come to the ring with the drizzlies out of the nose. Hell, we're all going to be sick. So, but I made most of my shots, unless I was hurt, and I didn't get hurt that much. I got banged up, but I still made the shows.
Now, before we get to the news proper, you posted this on Twitter, and I thought we'd best watch it on this as well. Did you film this off the television? So this is College Game Day, yeah? With
No, somebody sent it to me.
Pat McAfee is hosting. So if you bear with me 1 second, and I'm gonna bore you to death with me teeing up. There we go. Let's just listen to it one time. Hang on.
Together than they've ever been. Give me the BYU. I'm going the other way with it, and for no reason other than there was a great wrestling tag team, Bobby Jaggers, Dutch Mantell. They were the Jayhawks. Upset.
That's great. That logic works. I like that. Kansas. Exactly.
Did you ever think you'd get mentioned on College Game Day, for goodness sake?
No, I didn't. But the thing about that is BYU was undefeated, and they played Kansas, which probably prompted Cody's answer of the wrestling tag team. It was me and Bobby Jaggers as the Kansas Jayhawks, and he picked Kansas. Kansas, and the thing is, they won. They beat an undefeated team, and the Jayhawks won. So, and my Twitter, my message on my phone lit up. Hey, did you hear on game day? And my son-in-law came down. Hey, they just mentioned your name. He's all excited. On game day, Cody said it. So, and I was trying to find it. And then while I was trying to find it, somebody sent me that. So, but I made College Game Day, by God. Now I'm going to see if I can get on there, and I want to pick every team wrong. I want to set a record for the only guest who got every pick wrong. But that is a very highly watched football show every Saturday morning. And I have called it, at times, probably the best show on TV. And adding Pat McAfee to it, that's like adding Bullshit Incorporated to the show, because there's nothing he can't talk about, nothing he can't make funny, and he's never at a loss for words. And actually, people just need to watch it just for what Pat McAfee's going to say. But anyway, very, very good show.
It's funny that a couple of months ago you were mentioned on NXT. Like, the only time that your name was brought up, or Dutch Mantell name, instead of, Uncle Zeb or Zeb Colter or whatever. And then every single podcast in the world brought up the GoFundMe, and you mentioned now you're on College Game Day. They mentioned the Kansas Jayhawks, right? And I'm not sure if I ever asked you this. The Kansas Jayhawks is a basketball team, isn't it?
No, it's the University of Kansas, and the football team is the Jayhawks. The basketball team is the Jayhawks. The baseball team is every sports team they have. They're all the Jayhawks. So, and I don't even know what football conference they're in. I think it's the Big 10 or the Big 12 or something. It gets confusing now. But let me bring this up. The SEC this year, they have 6 teams in the top 12. And that's almost, the SEC is the football conference. I mean, nobody can argue with that. When you have Alabama and Georgia and Ole Miss, this is their first year under a new coach. He's in there, and Texas, and I mean, the SEC, they just dominated. But now it's 12-team playoff instead of a 4-team like they had last year, because the 4 teams, they left one team out that was undefeated, Florida State. And the people bitched and moaned, but it didn't help get them back in there. Now they have a playoff system, and I think we'll get a true national champion after this.
Where's Clemson in all this?
I think Clemson shit the bed. They lost the game they shouldn't have lost. They would probably have can't come in about 11th if they hadn't have lost that game. And they're not too far out of it, but there's no way they can get back in the top 12. They're like 15th, 14th, or 15th now. But I don't just turn into a football talk. But the coach, Dabo Swinney, doesn't play the portal. And the portal is it's wide open now. So if I get a scholarship to Clemson and I don't play the first year, and I look at who's ahead of me and I think they may be starting before I'm starting, I could just go to the portal and enter it like a free agent, and any team that can pick me up from there so I can go to another school. Clemson had a quarterback, I call him DJ Ulividia, I can't say his last name, but he's played for 3 teams already and now is ready to go to a 4th team. Because, well, there's one reason for that, because He's kind of shits. I saw him throw passes. Hell, I could beat that. But anyway, that's talk for another day. So I know a little bit about football, but even when some of the college game day guys get to talking about it, they lose me. It's very convoluted. And hey, just tell me the top four and let's go.
I like that Cody Rhodes mentioned the Kansas Jayhawks, but because you took the name from the University of Kansas, did you ever get in a trademark dispute because you were basically using their trademark for a name?
The story behind that is I didn't even come up with it. Dusty, Dusty Rhodes came up with it. He was the booker, and we were the Kansas Jayhawks in Mid-Atlantic territory, which is Charlotte, Virginia, the Carolinas. And he called us the Kansas Jayhawks, and he came up with the name, and we took it just took off. And we had some really good matches there. I was only there. I wasn't there. I was there maybe less than a year, but it was good. I liked it.
So one more thing that's not wrestling based, but we've got to talk about Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Now, Mike Tyson's training. I almost thought he was becoming the Ric Flair of boxing, because when Ric Flair decided to come back at age 102 or whatever it was, and some of the training stuff with Jay Lethal in the ring wasn't that bad. It was a bit slower and everything, but it was okay. When it came time for him to actually do the wrestling, it was a tragedy of Greek proportions. And now Mike Tyson.
Plus, you have to mention he was drunk too.
Yes,
he was drunk on Cooter Brown when he got in the ring in Nashville, and I'm thinking, why would you do that? I mean, this probably is your last match. But the people are going to remember. They don't want to see guys in matches like that. They can't go. They're a shadow of their former selves, and it's actually embarrassing not only to the performer. Rick should have been embarrassed by it. He hadn't said nothing about it, but I think the fans that have followed him all these years, they watch it and they're embarrassed for him.
He lived, at least, I guess. That being said, Mike Tyson's training looked really, really, the training montages looked really impressive. He still had some speed, because speed's the first thing to go, especially when you're a heavyweight, and he's 58 years old now. But the training montages look very impressive, and then he gets into the ring and tells us assuming it wasn't buffering, tell us what you saw.
Well, a lot of people said, it's fake, it's this. Do you think it was really set up? One time I saw Jake Paul push him into the ropes, and he said something to him, and I heard what he said was, do you want to get paid or not? So he gets in the ring, and, Tyson got $20 million for that. $20 million to spar, basically, for 8 rounds. And Jake Paul got $40 million. So now and it's that broadcast had to make some bucks to pay out $60 million to the two main competitors. And then they had 4 other matches on it. So yes, it was set up, because if Paul had knocked out, but Jake Paul was in a situation where he was in a lose-lose situation. If he'd have got knocked out, well, he lost to a 58-year-old man. And that's hard to come back from. And if he'd have knocked out Tyson, well, he knocked out a 58-year-old man. There's no upside for him. So they took it through. And I will say Jake Paul was very appreciative at the end, he bowed down to him, called him the greatest of all time, called him an icon, and which he should have. But I didn't think the match was all that bad. Some of those punches had some sting on them, but Tyson did better than what I thought he would do. When he gets to the 3rd or 4th round, he blew up. When you see him in the corner, and that's what I was thinking. I said, hey, that'd be a hell of a thing if he fell over with a damn stroke or fell over with a heart attack. That would really ruin the broadcast. But he made it through. I'm glad they made it through. And it was postponed one time, And I'm glad they got it off and they had 80,000 people in the Dallas stadium, whatever that stadium is called. 80,000 people and 120 million, I heard, watched it at home. But now, to a lot of people, it was free. That if you join Netflix, you get to, or if you were on Netflix, you got to broadcast for free. So that probably got a lot of people to join Netflix. And you ever watch Netflix?
Yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely. I
They got some
didn't watch it live though because the ring walks were at 4 a.m. local time here.
Damn.
So I just woke up at 8 a.m. or whenever I woke up and watched it.
How long was that broadcast?
4 hours, 5 hours, something like that, yeah. But boxing events, boxing pay-per-view events, not to quote Dana White here, but there's like 5 matches, 5 fights, and then they have a podcast in between all of them. And then the next fight comes out. It's like they're interminably boring pay-per-view boxing matches. No one really cares about the undercard at all.
Well, this had a better undercard than I thought it would have. They had those 2 girls. They had something else. I forgot what they had. But, of course, I didn't watch the whole thing. I just watched the fight. I just tuned in when I was watching on X, Twitter, by the way. I was watching on that, and when it says, okay, first round has started, I said, all right, I'm going to go over. And then I couldn't get it. And I kept playing with it, and finally it popped up in about a minute into the 3rd round, and then I got the rest of it. The reason I probably got it is so many people had left by then. They couldn't handle the overload is what it is. So
I couldn't handle it either. I watched the first 3 rounds and I just went to the 8th. I just went, terrible. Mike Tyson landed just 18 punches in 8 rounds.
He didn't throw many more than 18. Everyone he threw, he missed. So, but you got to really acknowledge Jake for being in the shape he was in. He looked a little heavy too. And he did hit Tyson with it looked like to me a couple of good punches. Of course, I think aren't the gloves bigger?
Yeah, they were like, I don't know what ounce they were, but they were softer padding than usual, and I think the rounds were like 2 minutes instead of 3 minutes.
Yeah, 2-minute rounds.
Yeah.
But if you want to see a big walkout, if it went to decision, and if they had, if he'd have knocked Mike Tyson out, because I don't think he's kind of dogged many fights. But if he's going to get $20 million, hey, and then I say, if somebody come to you and said, hey, we want you to do this and this and this, and we want you to go through, that's what it's called Broadway, go through, and then we'll send it to the judges. Will you do it? And it's, yeah, what are you going to pay me? $20 million? Oh, hell yeah. I'll do that. So, but I couldn't get enough pictures of Mike Tyson's naked butt walking around the dressing room. But anyway, I congratulate him on putting the fight together. And now, I don't think he's ever going to come up with a fight that got as much attention as that got.
No, I think, I was just written that down, I think that's the last of the gimmick/celebrity boxing matches that is going to do anything on pay-per-view. Because Jake Paul's already got a history of making up successes when they were really failures in some of his pay-per-view fights. I think Logan Paul's actually done a lot better with his pay-per-view boxing fights. But I think this is pretty much his last success because there's been so many celebrity or MMA versus boxing fights that have just died a death. I mean, there are a few good ones, including the Paul brothers and KSI. The original Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. exhibition match in the COVID era, I think. That did really well. But for the most part, people are over it. And I think this was maybe the last one that people would actually care about.
Okay, here's a little bit of a question for you. Who was the one boxer who knocked Mike Tyson out?
I can't remember. Oh, Buster Douglas, of course.
Yep, he did it. But they told a story about that. Buster Douglas' wife was real sick, or his mother had passed
his
away.
Mother had just died like a week or a few days or 2 weeks before then. Yeah.
And he just got the shot on Tyson, and he was a pretty big guy anyway. And that stunned the world. Now the next fight they had, or the next fight Buster Douglas had, he got his ass handed to him. So, but anyway, that's the only fight. And I think I was watching that live when he went down, and I was thinking, wait a minute, who come up with this finish? Because I didn't like it. But anyway, I think Mike Tyson, he did a lot for boxing. Boxing did a lot for him. And so I wish him all the luck in the world.
I've got one wrestling fact and then one final question, then we'll move on. One, Mike Tyson was scheduled to be part of a Saturday night's main event back in the day, and after he lost to Buster Douglas replaced him. So he actually took his place on that show.
I never heard that. I never heard that at all.
Yep. And the other one is, let's have the big question. Do you think the boxing match, Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, was worked? Because boxing does have a rich history in faking fights.
Really?
Would
you think so?
Would you
think so?
I think a lot of people don't really know that, because they sort of think of maybe the last 20 years or 30 years or something. But I mean, man, back in the day, boxing was...
I'll tell you why not a lot of people know it. You know why?
Oh.
Only one guy needs to know. The loser. They say round 5. Okay, I'm looking for it. Pow, and he gets hit. He drops down in round 5. The winner doesn't know. So if you ask a lot of guys, have you ever participated in a worked fight? A lot of them will say no, because they haven't. But the losers know. He's the only guy that needs to know. In a wrestling match, both guys have to know. Or anything else, every participant has to know. But not in boxing. An old-time wrestler told me that one time, and I went, yeah, that is right. So if he just picks a spot, down he goes. Hey, what was that movie they made? I can't remember. The guy has a fight, and they tell him to lose, but he doesn't lose. He knocks the guy out, then he runs back to the dressing room.
Are you thinking Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction. One of the greatest movies ever made. And he jumped out, and he took a cab and went to get his girl and took off. Mm-hmm. Great movie.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to go watch it right now on Netflix, right after we finish here.
I was going to say, there'd be a lot of buffering if everyone does that at the same time. We shall move on. Let's do some wrestling news then. CM Punk. This is a fairly short answer he gave to whoever it was. Rosenberg or something like that? I can't remember. I didn't write it down. Anyway, on how CM Punk feels like he wasted some of the select matches he had left on people in AEW who didn't deserve it. This is a quote. I feel like I wasted some matches on some people for sure. That is what it is. Some people understand the business and some people don't. I think everybody here, WWE, understands the business. So I'm going to give you a list of some of the people that CM Punk wrestled in AEW when he was there for that couple of years. Darby Allin, Daniel Garcia, Powerhouse Hobbs, Matt Sydal, Bobby Fish, Eddie Kingston, QT Marshall, Lee Moriarty, MJF, Wardlow, Sean Spears, FTR, Max Caster, Pender, Oscura, Dustin Rhodes, John Silver. Who the hell's John Silver?
He's somebody.
Okay, right. Some names that you'll know, and then there's Kojima, Ricky Starks, who's a big fan of. I'll come back to him in a minute. But I was thinking, he did have a lot of singles matches at the time with people and put in a lot of time with them. You know, like 8 minutes or 12 minutes or 14 minutes, which is sort of the AEW mantra of, it doesn't matter where someone else is on the card, have as long a match as possible with them.
Well, he said he wasted matches, and I'm going to agree with him. Now, if they'd have picked a guy, pick anybody of that list, if he'd have told a story with them, then he wouldn't be wasting a match. But just to have a match for the sake of putting them in the ring with him, he didn't really bring them up that much. He didn't bring them down, certainly, but he didn't raise them to the level of being able to sell a ticket or sell a pay-per-view. He didn't tell the story. Tell a story with these guys, and that's a lot of guys to just wrestle and I guess lose to. I mean, to win, even to beat them. That's that doesn't do CM Punk any good, and it doesn't do the guy that he beat, doesn't do him any good either. So I think they were just trying to change the opponent every week or so it didn't look repetitious. But I don't think they know how to really tell a story in AEW, because sometimes you'll see a guy in AEW, and I appreciate the fact that Tony Khan started a company and he gives the wrestlers an alternative place to work. I like that. But you can't put a guy on TV, and here he is. He just got into the company, ladies and gentlemen. 1, 2, 3. And he loses his first match. And then you don't see the guy for the next 2 months. You can't get anybody over like that. And I never understood that philosophy. I never understood that philosophy of booking. And are you going to talk about John Moxley in a minute?
Oh yeah, in a short while.
Okay.
In a short while, I will as well. Let me ask you this then. So, one, do you believe that every wrestler has a bump card? As in, every wrestler's got a certain amount of bumps they can take, and then after so long, you just can't take anymore safely.
I don't think when you're young you have it's according to what kind of bumps you're going to take. If you're falling off a ladder to a concrete floor, you may not have but one of those. You could break your leg, you could break your neck. It's according to the difficulty of the bump. But the regular bumps, the slams and the arm drags and the clotheslines, and I mean, you can take those up to your 40, and you're only telling it is after the match, is when you cool off and you tighten up. But nobody needs to tell a wrestler, hey, calm down. I mean, if I'm sitting there and I took a bump I shouldn't have taken, well, my body tells me. And you couldn't give me enough money now to get me to take a bump. Maybe shoot me, I could fall over. But, some of those bumps were, and I see guys take these bumps, and it's ungodly to watch, and they hop right up. I mean, they hop right up without selling anything. Like, hey, that's normal. I can do this. But it looked awful. It looked terrible. And yes, I think they do have a set bump card that they can take without problems. But it's up into the thousands anyway.
With that being said, CM Punk was in his 40s when he was in AEW, and he's still in his 40s now, of course. But what I'm reading from that is that he wasted bumps off his bump card for people who he shouldn't have done. And
I'm agreeing with him.
But
yeah, you're right. But what I'm saying is he was working for the company, and he was trying to get these guys over. You can have a match and get yourself over, and the other guy too. CM Punk, he could do that, and he probably took a lot of unnecessary bumps because he was trying to do that. But see, he doesn't get any of the praise for being a company guy. A lot of people want to say they want to knock him, and I will say one thing for CM Punk: when you knock him, he'll come back at you too. Because, I don't know how he got to AEW, if he knew Tony Khan before he started the company. But I think he made a good deal for himself. And when he got there and he saw the money, that's some things that were going to happen, he tried to get within the company's framework, within its operating circle. And he got in there, and then all of a sudden, the deal with that, what's his name, about the glass and all this.
The glass? Oh, Jungle Boy Jack Perry.
Yeah, and he got into it with him, and then Tony got hot and suspended Jungle Boy, and he got all teed off about it. And it wasn't on pay-per-view, but the camera in the dressing room got it. So I'm not going to put any of that blame on CM Punk. He was busting his ass trying to get AEW to actually work. And I've said this before, and I don't want to lay on AEW any more than necessary, because I actually like Tony Khan. I hope he's a friend of mine. I talked to him before, and he was very friendly. But he doesn't really know how to run a wrestling company correctly, because he doesn't want to be the bad guy. I mean, if somebody said, I don't want to do this, well, he may even change it or have an agent change it, because he didn't want anybody to get mad at him. You can't run a business like that. If I want you to work from 3 to 11 and you come and said, well, can I come in 6 to 11? I said, did I say 6 to 11? I said 3 to 11. That's when I need you to work. If you can't work, I'll get somebody else to do it. And you do that enough times, and then finally I'm gonna write you off the list. You won't be employed there long. But I do that in the kindest way possible. Yeah.
There's been a conspiracy theory that's risen recently after CM Punk left. Certain people, certain wrestlers on the AEW roster were supportive of him beforehand and after. You know, photos of him and stuff like that. Ricky Starks, Jamie Hayter, and Danhausen. Jamie Hayter's come back, but she's nowhere near as hot as she was before she left. She had an injury, and then it took her 15 months to come back. But Ricky Starks has been taken off television. Danhausen hasn't been seen on AEW TV in nearly a year, even though he's not injured or anything. He's just waiting for the call, I guess. And then there are other people like FTR and House of Black that ever since CM Punk left, and they're all boosters of CM Punk. They've just been nowhere, comparatively speaking, than when he was in the company. That being said, do you think Tony Khan is punishing CM Punk supporters within the company?
I'm speaking right now to Tony Khan. That CM Punk's a no good bastard, and he shouldn't have treated you that way, Tony. And listen, that's what I want you to do. Give me a job, Tony, and I'll sign it on like January the 1st and let it run for 3 years. And out of those 3 years, book me like 2 or 3 times and keep my checks coming. And hey, we'd have a good relationship. So that's what I'd do. So even if the guys, is this true? Even if the guys work or not, they still get their yearly check or their weekly check?
Yeah, they're all guaranteed, yeah.
Really? Every one of them?
Yeah, Danhausen as well has said that the only times he's been in touch with AEW is to confirm indie bookings of his, because since he's under contract with AEW, they can veto bookings of yours. And that's all there's been. It's just he calls them and says, I've got this indie booking on this date. Is that cool? And they go, yep. And then that's it. So he's getting paid and then doing indie shots, and that's it.
What a great deal. These AEW guys got a deal other guys, the older guys, would love to have. Because you're going to pay me to sit at home with my foot up on the table and watch college game day and those college football games all day Saturday and pro football on Sunday, and don't even worry about going to the airport and but they have to show up at the towns, right?
No.
No?
No. Danhausen hasn't showed up to a town since probably January or February or whatever it is.
Well,
there are certain people who will have to show up, and there are certain people who just won't even be sent tickets and just stay home for months on end.
Okay, Bryan Danielson is retired, correct?
Yes, well, from full-time wrestling, yes. And then he's going to get neck surgery, and he'll probably be back in a year for a few matches here and there.
But he still goes to some of the shows, right? Does he help out in the back? Is he an agent?
No, I don't think so. I've got because he wants to spend more time at home, so I doubt he would have. I mean, if he's going to be there, he might as well wrestle. At that point. But no, I think he's staying at home more. But I think he's got some. I figure he's got some sort of office job, other than the AEW disciplinary committee.
Being an agent sounds like a cushy job till you talk to some of these guys. Oh my God, it gets almost impossible to talk to them. So I want you to do this. Well, wait a minute. Why would I do that? And you say, I don't know. Why wouldn't you do that? Well, because I'm this and I'm this and I'm this. So most of the time they end up doing their own stuff without the agents really, signing off on it. And finally, when they get it together, they give it to him. He said, do it. I'm tired of messing with it. You only got 6 minutes and we go do it. So, but anyway, being an agent sounds good because you don't got to take bumps, but you got to talk to the wrestlers.
Next one, Big Boom AJ. Who is this guy?
Oh, a big star.
Is he?
Oh, a huge star.
I thought you were going to tell me he was some nobody. I've never heard of the guy.
You've never heard of him?
No. What is he?
Well, I hadn't heard of him either. But
Oh, right. Good.
what's his name?
Big
BJ?
Boom AJ and some other people. I thought you were a big TikToker, Dutch.
No, I haven't seen him on TikTok either.
So
I really haven't.
So basically, this guy is some middle-aged guy who apparently used to be like a low-level indie wrestler like 20 years ago, and then earlier this year has found some sort of fame on TikTok about Costco and something about cookies. Here's the thing: are we just too old to know what's going on here, or am I just in the wrong country to know? Because we don't have Costco here. This guy's got like no international appeal, so I don't understand who this dude is. So can you fill in the blanks?
I have no idea who this guy is. I heard his interview. I hope he stays at Costco because he damn sure won't make any money on the wrestling circuit at all.
Hey, well, do you know what we should do is watch that interview together?
Okay, watch it.
1 second.
I want to show everybody what we're talking about.
1 second then. Okay, here is the promo that Big Boom AJ cut.
Guys, I am back here with Big Justice and Big Boom AJ.
Okay, just 1 second. Dutch, what do you think of the backdrop they've decided to start doing all their interviews with?
I don't know what that backdrop is. I see some TV screens.
No, it's not even. They're roadie cases.
I got it.
So apparently that's their new backdrop now, and also I see they've got some sort of like blue lighting with some bars on it that makes it seem like a tropical prison. You see that on the back?
It looked better than what they had. I'll say that. But
Jesus,
I don't know why they just don't do the. Why don't they just don't do the boxes without the backdrop? It would look better. See, I'm sitting here trying to figure out what it is. See, I thought that was a big screen TV behind.
No, I think it's just one of those like travel cases, equipment cases. Okay. Here it is, and tell me if you think he's reading off an auto cue when he says it.
This Saturday at Full Gear 0 Hour, you're going to be taking on QT Marshall. This is a match 20 years in the making.
Is it?
Well, Renee, it may have been 20 years in the making for QT, but for me, it all started when he threw the double chunk chocolate cookies.
All right, well, be that as it may, you have not been in the ring in 20 years. Are you at all concerned of how your body's going to hold up out there?
I'm not concerned at all because I only have one strategy. It's the same strategy we have each and every day, and it's to bring the boom! But Renee, we do have a special announcement to make because when I ring QT Marshall's bell and I power boom him right through the middle of the ring at the Prudential Center, there's only one guy we want ringing that bell. Big Justice.
My best friend, the Rizzler!
Bring the boom!
A power boom sounds like a sort of sexual thing.
That was the living shits. No, I take that back. That wasn't that good. It was horrible. I don't see the purpose of that. I think he kind of paid Tony Khan maybe to get on TV. I have no idea.
Okay, so on the AEW Twitter, where that was from, half the people are also saying, "Who is this guy?" And some people say, well, "What do you mean? You're just 35 or something like that? You should know blah 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 who so and so is." It's like I never. Anyway, and apparently there was someone who was arguing, yeah, well, WWE came a-calling and they turned them down and went to AEW, according to an interview that Big Boom AJ did, and that's not the case at all. It was a podcast where this Big Boom AJ guy said, no, WWE turned me down, so we had to go to AEW.
Well, I was thinking one time, just think about this, man, how many people women and men, that call themselves wrestlers are in the United States right today? What would you say?
In America, 1,000?
More than that.
You think?
I bet Texas had got 1,000.
Like full time, or are you saying?
No,
people who do it on
they
the
just
weekend?
call themselves a wrestler.
Okay.
I bet there's 50,000 at least. Do you think it'd be that many?
I think it'd be way less. I would have said a few thousand. Who wrestle once in a blue moon to full time.
They may have never wrestled, but and don't you know?
They
you know, they look
identify
at
as
you
a
like,
wrestler, is what you're saying.
yeah, well, maybe that, but there's more out there than you can, say, and shake a stick at. That's quite a few people. Shake a stick at.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 100,000 is more, but I say there's 50. Did I say 50 or 100?
Hey, where? You said 50,000.
Oh, yeah. But I think they may be 50,000. In New York alone and, California, they may have 3,000 or 4,000 guys. They call themselves a wrestler, work a little independent show, or even do a podcast, and they call themselves a wrestler or in the wrestling profession or whatever.
Podcasting. I'll tell you, there's so many podcasters out there who give themselves nicknames. And it's just embarrassing. It's like, I'm so-and-so, I'm the Exploder. And I want you to call me that, on the show, and it's just use your name, buddy. But yeah, there's just a lot of frustrated wannabes out there.
Here's a question for you, and for everybody out there: how many wrestling podcasts, whether they get 100 subscribers or 25,000, we got 25,000, but how many podcasts do you think are out there?
Wrestling podcasts or YouTube shows or anything like that, I would say it's in the tens of thousands.
That's a lot.
And this guy's one of them, apparently. Anyway, I was hoping you'd say it was some sort of American thing that he was famous for, but
Oh, I've never heard of him. But what does a kid do to stand in the corner?
and eats
No
copiously,
kidding.
I guess. And are you excited for the Rizzler to turn up?
And I have no idea who that is.
The thing is, the Rizzler over here is cigarette paper. Or it's a brand of. So maybe maybe he's going to just roll one up.
I don't know who that is. So
They were on Jimmy Fallon or something like that. I can't remember who it was. No, who's the one with the short black hair, the late night talk show guy? Is that Jimmy Fallon? Whatever it was, one of them. And they had these three people on there, and you could tell that the chat show guy just didn't want them there at all. So apparently there's some sort of online flavour of the month deal. And Big Boom AJ has got himself a match at Full Gear pre-show. Not even on the pay-per-view.
mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Well, that might give the people a way to go to the concession stand before the show starts.
Yeah, get some merch, why not? Okay, speaking of merch, this will tie into merch with replica title belts. MJF. It was at some convention recently, fans were lining up to have a photo taken with MJF, and one of them was handed MJF a WWE title belt replica. Now, let me cue up the video, and we're going to see what happens. Okay, and this is from Big LP Wrestling's Instagram, so here we go. Sorry for it being so loud, everybody. There you go.
Brother, if that'd been my belt, me and MJF would have had words. Because, those belts aren't cheap. They're like $125, $150 a piece. But for him to just throw it and then hit the concrete floor, he could have broke it. Of course, I don't know how you're going to get your money out of him. But I think some guys try to be more heelish than what they need to be. Because I always followed the advice of Jimmy Hart. Because, Jerry Jarrett in Memphis always wanted, if you were a heel, you had to be a heel outside the arena. And Jimmy Hart told me, he said, not no, but F no. I am not working overtime. I'll do it in the arena when they bought a ticket, but going out and I'm going to a 7-Eleven or I'm going to do, no, I'm not going to be a smart ass to a guy that's got some more guys in the car with him because hell, they may all get out and just beat the crap out of me. And he said, that's why I'm the nicest guy in the world after the show with the fans. But I think MJF is just trying too hard to be a heel, and he's probably a heel at heart, but you don't have to break somebody's belt. And that belt it hit pretty hard from the sound of it.
I think it might have been an accident. If you watch it again, or you can just rewind this bit of the video, I guess, he sort of tries to throw it on the table, and then I think he's just thrown it a bit too far, and then it's bounced off the table and onto the floor, but he can't like not commit to the bit, I guess, in that respect.
Well, it could have been, he could have aimed for the table and missed. But still, he needs to tell the guy, hey, I didn't mean to do that. It just fell off the fucking table. But he meant to show an emotion, like, I don't give a crap about WWE. But one day, he may give a crap about WWE. And didn't he have a deal with WWE maybe 6 months ago?
Oh, there was that kind of thing where, he may have been playing WWE interest off against Tony Khan and AEW, and that's how he got a better deal with AEW, then got like a poker chip tattoo on his leg saying AEW. What do
you think he's making now?
The thing is that, let's not get...
Hey, what does your good friend Dave Meltzer
I was just going to say that.
Now, what does Dave Meltzer say he's making?
Oh, I don't know. I've no idea. He'll be making 7 figures a year easily.
$1 million.
He'll be making $1 million a year easily, but who knows? I wouldn't say it was out of the realm of possibility he was making $2 million a year.
Really?
Yeah, I think so, because I think here's the thing.
Tony, I'm going to send you my number. I want you to call me. I think I can help you out, buddy.
AEW has got such a massive rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, but the fact is that Tony Khan's also spending a heck of a lot more money as well, so how much profit there'll actually be there, I don't know.
Okay,
he has to overpay people to keep them there as well, let's be honest.
I think Warner Brothers and Discovery, they're being sold.
What makes you say that then?
Okay, maybe I'm wrong here, but CNN, what's the other one?
TBS, TNT.
Are they all under the same company?
I figure so, yeah.
But CNN, their ratings dropped after the election here. They just bottomed out. And another one, MSNBC, it bottomed out. And the other one that the ratings dropped to like 200,000 or 300,000 people watching the news. And while Fox, who supported Trump, hell, they're up in the 2.5 to 3 million on their newscast.
Tell you what.
So they're all dropping their TV in favor of streaming. Streaming has kicked their butts. But are all of them under one owner?
I'm just looking. They've got TBS, TNT, True TV. They've got HBO, HBO Max, CNN, DC, Eurosport, HGTV, Food Network. I think they've got like dozens of channels under their ownership. They're all. I'm surprised that they're even allowed to have, that many channels. With monopoly rules and stuff. I guess I don't know.
But anyway, we'll see keep your eye on that, because there's some CNN employees and MSNBC, and they got another one in there that I don't pay much attention to. I don't think many other people do either. But they're thinking, well, hell, they could get rid of us at a moment's notice and just stop broadcasting. I don't think they'll do that, but they could, I guess.
Next one, Britt Baker, nobody cares. We won't...
Hey, I've already watched this.
Yeah.
We can watch it again. I don't understand it at all.
Okay, we'll watch it together because I want people to be able to hear this as well. So one sec. Just to set the scene for everybody, because obviously we're going to have to blur this out. Britt Baker's just beaten, I think, Penelope Ford. and has her sort of in-ring celebration interrupted when Serena Deeb walks out on the entranceway. So this is what Britt Baker says to the camera, not on microphone.
White, when the opportunity presented itself. Oh, wait a second. Talking of opportunities. Serena Deeb, the last woman to cross paths with Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, before tonight. Yep. The Professor and the Doc. White.
What was that, the Professor and the Duck? Anyway, so Britt Baker says nobody cares 4 times. Boy, howdy, that's a way to get interested in a feud.
No kidding. If nobody cares, why would I care? She doesn't care. And says nobody else cares, so why should I care? See, I don't know the story between these two. Didn't they have a match like a couple months ago or something? And
yeah, Britt Baker won.
Yeah. And so she walks out there. I don't see it. That's why I said I don't get it. I can't even tie this story together. I don't even know what they're doing. Listen, if you're to the shape, you have to have the fans put their own meaning to it. Boy, you've lost that battle. You got to put this together where it makes sense. And why does nobody care? Because she beat her 3 months ago. Nobody cares. So she made her own opponent look like nothing. So, and if she beat her again, so what? She beat nothing. And if nothing beat her, then she's done. So nothing beats you. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. If somebody had tried that, even on an independent show, I would say the same thing. What the hell are they talking about? Because I don't know. And like I told you, I don't understand it. I don't, period.
I'm thinking of like Jerry Lawler promos. Back in the day, I mean, he'd get pretty harsh with some of them, and he wouldn't always build up an opponent. Sometimes he'd just completely put them down. But would he ever actually say, nobody cares about you, and then just sort of move on?
No, never. He would never say that. If he said nobody cares about you, he said, except me. Because I'm going to get you in that ring and I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this, blah, blah, blah. But no, you got to build your opponent up. It's like, okay, if I'm going in the ring against you and you've had a couple wins, but you're not, you're still green, I got to make you look like one day you could belong in that ring with some experience. So the better I make you look, is the better I look when I get to 1, 2, 3 count on you. You're going to build your opponent even through the match. So if I beat you, well, I beat somebody. If I just eat you up from the get-go, from the ding, the start of the match, boom, 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 and it's over after 3 or 4 minutes, whatever, people said, there was no competition. There was nothing there. He shouldn't even been in the ring with him. And that actually hurts both guys. It damn sure hurts the guy that got beaten 3 minutes. And it doesn't help the guy who beats him either.
Now, I think the weirdest thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, but I think Britt Baker's still a babyface. Or I'm not even sure if she is or not now. I mean, it seems to flip-flop so much, but I just haven't been keeping up. Since
Well, you can't tell from that whether she's a babyface or not, so nobody cares.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't think her being a heel, that would prohibit her from saying that, or a babyface. I don't think it denotes her status in the company at all.
I actually thought I thought she was a babyface at the time. Who knows? Because ever since we had the enforced sabbatical of the podcast, I haven't been keeping up as much. But I'm trying my best anyway. Right, we'll move on. This is fascinating, and this does relate to politics. But it's Linda McMahon confirms it's 2 things actually. One, she's been appointed education secretary by Donald Trump. But we'll get to this bit first. Linda McMahon confirms that she and Vince McMahon are separated. This is her lawyer, Laura Bravetti, who apparently she's represented Vince McMahon before. I don't know if it was the steroid trial or wherever, but she's got history with the McMahons. Anyway, she said about the Ring Boys lawsuit that we talked about last week. This lawsuit, based upon 30-plus-year-old allegations, is filled with scurrilous lies, exaggerations, and misrepresentations. Which I actually don't think it is. I think it's a very, very fair lawsuit. And, you know, Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, as the owners pretty much of WWF, were aiding and abetting paedophiles. And pretty much knew it. They must have known it. I mean, they fired Mel Phillips and then rehired him and then fired him again. But anyway, there's that.
Okay, in the U.S., and I think we've talked about this before, the statute of limitations. That's been 30 years ago.
But it's been suspended. Statute of limitations has been suspended in the state of Maryland, which is where this lawsuit has been filed.
So, but I also thought some of these guys were paid a certain sum of money to shut up and go on.
Nope.
That true?
Nope.
No?
I think Tom... I don't want to ascribe anything. Maybe Tom Gold got a payoff. I don't know. But I don't think anyone else got a payoff, or if they did, I've not heard about it.
Okay.
It's not like the NDAs with Vince McMahon and the women. I think they were just used and abused, and then they were paid at the end of it, just like a ring boy salary for the day, $75. See you later.
Well, I don't think anything's going to come of that.
Really? I think they'll settle.
Oh, I think they're settled. But I don't think anything will come of that. I don't think it would be some excessive amount because, 30 years has a way of, if these guys were really, really hurt, but I think they would settle for a small amount anyway. And, Vince is only worth $9 billion. So it's like, hey, I got some pennies here, take this, and they'll be happy with it. But Linda McMahon being appointed Secretary of Education, now where did that come from? Where is her education? She was on a Connecticut Board of Education.
Yeah. Well, great question. She has been nominated by Donald Trump as his education secretary, despite basically having no experience in the role. But, of course, she donated $10 million to the Trump campaign. It's been argued that she spent time on the Connecticut Board of Education for a year, somewhere around 2009 to 2010. But she quit soon afterwards. Her claim was that she was quitting to run for Senate in Connecticut again. But it's also interesting to note that she lied to the board when she applied for the job. She claimed that she had a degree in education, and then when found out that she didn't, she actually had a degree in French. Work that one out. She said she forgot what her degree was in. She's so full of shit. It's like, who forgets what their degree is in?
I would say, Linda, can you tell me in French what this degree is in? Can you tell me that? But I don't know why he would. I don't know. They have a way of...
Stop it. You know exactly what. She donated a lot of money and she's basically bought herself a position.
Do you really believe that?
Would you?
Do you really believe that she would donate that much money just to get appointed Secretary of Education?
Well, she didn't even want to be the Secretary of Education. She wanted it as like a commerce or something like that.
What was she? What was she in before?
She was small business management.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Yeah, I think it was like Secretary of Commerce or something like that, and then that position was filled by somebody else. So what was left was education, which is what she now finds herself in.
Don't ask me, but I do think some of those those departments are going to be abolished and done away with. An education department. Education for what? All the states do what they want to do anyway. Why do you hire like 3,000 people to run an education department where they're not needed? And since Trump appointed Elon Musk and that other Vivek Rajamakajak, whatever his name is, they're going to oversee all this. And I think we're going to see a lot of departments demonetized, defunded, and done away with.
Yeah.
And done away with, because a lot of them step on each other's toes. So,
John Moxley, hard reset New York Post segment. So there's two things to talk about John Moxley. The first thing we're going to be talking about is an interview that he did with the New York Post. Here's some quotes. Everything that has happened up until this point doesn't matter, Moxley said. He's talking about AEW and their booking and philosophies and everything else. This is day zero. We begin from here, and it might not look much different right now, but it will, and things are accomplished by small incremental steps, doing little things consistently, and this is how big changes are made over periods of time. He noted an instance earlier this year when a backstage person said something that stunned him, and he felt talents were not put in a position to succeed due to a lack of, quote, preparation, framework, and direction. Quote from Moxley again, "This individual said, well, it's the bottom of the card. It doesn't matter. It's the bottom of the card. It doesn't matter," Moxley said. Can you imagine that? Like, you're effing fired. Yeah, you're effing fired. Go work at Sunglass Hut. You should be effing pistol whipped for saying that. Everybody that's on top was at one time on the bottom. That's how it works. You climb the ladder. You see a lot of frustration and confusion from some of these talents because there is no effing ladder. They don't know what they do. They're kind of just wandering in the desert. We're going to grab them by the shoulder and we're going to walk them. There's a couple more things that I'll mention that. But what do you think about that? Someone saying that it's the bottom of the card, it doesn't matter. Was that your philosophy?
Well, if I have, say I bring a new guy in and I'm going to put him in second match instead of putting him in first match, your first match should be one of your best matches on the card. That gets the people up, your first match. So I'd put him in second match or third match and see how he does. And yeah, it does matter if it's first match or not. I want him to go out there, give me the best performance he can, because I won't judge him and my reaction to him according to what I do with him. So if he goes out there and he lays an egg, well, he can only lay an egg so many times and I'll have to replace him or put somebody else in his place. It does matter. And yeah, John is halfway right on this and halfway wrong, I think, because it's the bottom of the card. If you put somebody in the bottom of the card and you try to push them, but they don't have what they need to get there, then you've kind of wasted that. But and the rule of thumb is always like put the baby face over and let the people, kind of don't piss them off early on with the guy that you're not unsure of. Let the baby face beat him 1, 2, 3. And he could always come back later on and, attack the guy or whatever if he wanted to do something with him. But yeah, he's kind of right and kind of wrong because I don't care what kind of booker you are. You can look at a guy and say, and have an idea in your head that you want to do something with him, but you got to see him first. You got to see how he goes out there and what gimmick is going to work best with him. If he goes out there and he does a lot of amateur wrestling, well, you can't really make him a flat out heel because what's he got to get the people pissed off? Unless he's a great talker, then you can work that with him. But it's a little different than what it seems. And that's an old saying, it's the first match, who gives a crap? Yeah, that's an old saying. I heard it when I started. And I think it was monkey see, monkey do, monkey hear, monkey say. So that's what he's pissed off. What he's saying now is it's a new day in AEW now, and it's going to change. When did he say this?
This was a few days ago, or last week. Let's say last week he said this.
Okay, has the hierarchy changed in AEW
Nope.
in the last few days?
Nope. That being said...
Well, why would it be? Watch it and you'll see. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, I guess so. There are a couple of things that have come out. I don't know if I mentioned this last week. I can't remember. But I know I did say something to the effect of they're going to be changing the live events and TV tapings to make it, more... Just get the fans going a bit more. Almost like having, I don't know, a warm-up comedian during the break or something, just to keep the crowd going, because the crowd's been dead recently. And that's because the shows have been bloody awful the last couple of weeks.
How awful were they?
Oh, awful. Bloody awful.
Bloody awful.
I mean, some of the worst shows ever. And they really have been. I mean, we'll talk about that in a few minutes because we saw the Go Home segment, but we'll talk about that from yesterday as we record this. But then he mentions the Warner Brothers Discovery deal, $185 million. And then there's also the fact that they're now going to be taping in smaller buildings, finally, instead of spending six figures on NBA arenas throughout the country that they only fill with 2,000 people. They're going to start doing smaller, mid-sized places. Here's something else Moxley said. What are we going to do with the opportunity regarding the new Warner Brothers Discovery deal? That's what I'm worried about. There's been a lot of kind of in the position of AEW in the past, There's been a lot of sitting around celebrating, just treating it like this stuff just happens. Like, oh, it's just success, it just happens. This is the way it's supposed to be. And it's not going to go anywhere. Like, this can all go away tomorrow. Moxley's goal is to create better habits and a better understanding than anything with an AEW logo on it needs to be held to the highest standards, because it reflects on everyone in the company. Not doing so would be a blatant disrespect to the paying fans. He wants to create an environment that's inhospitable for bullshit. And he finishes off by saying, I'm just kind of excited about the new kind of attitude you're feeling, the energy that you're feeling in the locker room, backstage, and in the arena, just everything surrounding AEW. But as I say, the last couple of AEW Dynamites, the crowd has been dead from beginning to end pretty much, and they've just been terrible shows. And nothing's changed. The lighting's still the same. The same amount of people are turning up. It's really dark and dingy presentation. Nothing's changed yet. But it sounds like 2025, they look like they're going to be doing some stuff.
If I was Tony Khan, I'd call up John Moxley and make him my executive vice president. I say, this is what we need to hear. And we need to hear it from somebody who believes it. And I think John Moxley believes it. Because if he wants to go out there and he's saying AEW deserves our hardest work, our utmost appreciation, and our steadfast desire to deliver, top-notch programming to the fans that are tuning in. And that's how you get it. So, and sometimes you have to have that hard ass there. You've had jobs and you've had the hard ass that sometimes you have to go answer to, and you'd rather take an ass whipping than go and see this guy. I don't know if you have, but most people have. And he could do that. You say, go see John, see what he says. And you go, God, I don't want to go see him. Because, he's going to bust your ass down. He said, listen, we're all busting our ass here, and you're going to do it too. You're going to be out of a job, period. That's the only thing he can threaten them with. And so if you're going out there and you're doing this, you're doing that, blah, 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 you're getting drunk in a bar, you're making the whole company look bad, we're not going to have it. And when you go to that ring, you better go out there and win the ring with the intention of turning in the best performance you can turn in that night. Otherwise, you're just a waste on the payroll, and you can be replaced.
Britt Baker, we just talked about it before. I mean, if she just went out there and just crapped on a future match, I don't care, nobody cares. I mean, that would be for me if I was, let's say, John Moxley or whoever it is has an executive vice president of talent relations kind of role. I mean, man, that would be so like final strike. If you do it again, you're out kind of thing. Or Adam Cole turning up yellower and yellower every single week. he was like jaundice yellow this week. He was like reflective.
Okay, do you think she was told to say nobody cares?
No, I don't think so. I think she just did it.
Yeah, and because I don't think she thought that the camera mic could pick her up. But before I would let that go out there, I'd censor it out.
It's live.
Yeah, well, it is live? That was live? Well, you can't do that. But anyway, but she should say, if the woman comes out, or the opponent comes out, and you say, no, nobody cares, that means that killed my interest in it right there. If nobody cares, why should I care? See, it's little bitty things that the guys do, that the talent does, that they shouldn't do. But who's telling them not to do it?
Exactly.
Who is the one that can go? Who is the one guy in AEW that can walk up to them and say, never, never, ever say that again?
Do you think Tony Khan's going to do that?
No. But who does that fall to?
Okay, well, if it's the EVPs, Kenny Omega's not there, Cody Rhodes is no longer there, and the Young Bucks are taking a sabbatical, so all you have, I think, are some office personnel, Tony Khan, who's at every show, and some agents.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So it is running right now just on fumes. I think it's running on fumes, and there's nobody basically, I can't say this for sure, But I don't think there's anybody basically in charge of it. I think Tony books what he wants to book, and he can do that because he's the one that put the money out for it. He can do what he wants. But hey, you could have a guy writing songs. He could write the songs he wants, but nobody wants to hear them. And that's a big problem. You know, if you write some songs that the people want to hear or buy or play on the radio or something like that. But to me, I've always thought AEW, and this is not a knock on them, they're like running, you know, they're just there. And I don't know what happens during the meetings. I don't know what happens. I'm not there. I don't know. And if anybody was there, at least they got sense enough not to tell anybody not in the company what's going on. But they just say, yeah, we have a meeting, and we go over everything. But anyway, I think it's lost in the transfer of information.
This might blow your mind, but I think I read somewhere recently that AEW, correct me if I'm wrong, basically don't have pre-production meetings.
What?
Like, there are no pre-production meetings in AEW, pretty much. I think I'm right in saying that. If I'm wrong, tell me, but yeah.
No, they got to have a pre-production meeting.
Nothing
I mean,
major,
you don't get the writers in a room, and you don't get to all the
There aren't any
TV.
writers. I mean, oh yeah, there is one writer, like, I can't remember his name, but Will Washington, I think. There is like one writer or maybe two writers, but there aren't like pre-production meetings like WWE. It might be a quick, here's what you're doing today, here's a piece of paper, go nuts. And that's it, really.
Well, that's a mistake. That is really a mistake.
It might explain why, as I said, I mean, last week's AEW Dynamite was god-awful, and then yesterday was somehow even worse. They've just been a really bad couple of shows recently. And here's the thing, we actually watched the go-home segment to plug Full Gear. I think it's Full Gear anyway. That's how bad of a job they've done plugging the pay-per-view. I can't remember the name. That's happening this weekend. And if it wasn't going to excite you enough, Jon Moxley, the AEW champion, versus Orange Cassidy as in a singles match for the World Heavyweight Championship of AEW, which I can't imagine that would appeal to too many people to plonk down the hard-earned money anyway. But now they had that go-home segment. I'll tell you what happened. Wheeler Yuta was beating up Orange Cassidy, and then Orange Cassidy snuck out a rolling cradle or whatever it was and got the pin. And then, I always want to call him Neville, but it's Pac now, comes in, attacks Orange Cassidy, and then the rest of the Death Riders, which used to be the Blackpool Combat Club, now they've changed it to the Death Riders, then attack Orange Cassidy, and then duct tape his hands into his pockets. Then what did we see, Dutch?
Well, the part that you showed me is his hands are like duct tape into his pockets, and he throws a lame kick, like he does that before his matches, the lame kick. And then the guy just knocks the hell out of him, which took all my sympathy away from him. What did he think? They're going to sell that little lame kick he does? Then the guy just knocked him down. They beat the shit out of him. Actually, I felt like he deserved it for being so stupid. If you got four guys around, I'm going to give this little kick. It didn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
We're talking about making sense in a make-believe business, which is actually counterproductive unto itself. But anybody would tell you, if you're going to try to get out of there and try to throw that kick, everybody knows that kick couldn't even hurt a 3-year-old kid with it. So to throw that and they think they're going to sell that and not do anything, hell, at least try to get out of there. At least try to be working your arms to get out of that duct tape they got you in. And they had him taped pretty good too. So he couldn't move.
Do you know what the story was? Do you know what the idea behind that was that I actually had to research to find out? Is that they're either trying to get him to fight back properly or not be Orange Cassidy or whatever it is, try and abandon his persona. And that was a defiant little tap to the shin that he was doing because he does that in other matches as well.
It didn't work.
Yeah, he just came across like a blithering idiot, yeah. And there was not like any like never say die attitude from him. It was like, he never says die. He might be able to take it. I just thought, no, he's going to get killed.
Yep. So anyway, I didn't understand it. If nothing else, he should have tried to roll out of that ring and run, because the people can understand that now, and run him down and drag him back in there, then kick the crap out of him. And that's what makes heels. But that little silly kick made him look stupid. So now I'm not going to, why would I get behind a guy that has a stupid response to being cornered and taped up in a ring, and you know these guys don't like you anyway? I think that sent a whole ton of fans saying they're just confused.
And he has no friends to save him.
And yeah, and some people ran in after they kicked his ass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they run in before? See what I mean? If you're going to run in, you can't wait too long to run the friends in, because now it looks like the guy has no friends whatsoever in the world and are sitting back there, and they know the fans know you have big monitors backstage so you can watch what's going on. Why wouldn't they run in beforehand when it was 4-1 and he's taped up? They know something's going to happen. So, but they wait for it to happen, then they run in. I don't get it.
They don't want to wear out the shoe leather. With all that running.
But anyway, I don't think it's going to do good. What do you think the pay-per-view buy rate would do on this one?
Dare I say probably under 100,000, because generally pay-per-views, like everything else with AEW, has been trending downwards. And I think they were hovering near 100, but this one is just not. This has been some of the worst build up to a pay-per-view I've seen.
How much is a pay-per-view on AEW?
I don't know, $50 something maybe?
Really? And they do 100,000 buys?
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a hell of a lot. Okay, 100,000 buys at $50 is how much? 5 million?
5 million, yeah.
So they get half that.
Yeah.
2.5 million. Not a bad. Where do you get to 100,000 from?
Oh, just from previous pay-per-view buys that I've seen.
Dave Meltzer.
No. Actually, WrestleNomics, I think, are fairly reliable with these things. I think they've got a website with all their previous pay-per-view buys.
If it does 100,000, I would say it would do 70,000, maybe. I'm just going off the 100,000.
Right.
But I think it'd be way down.
Yeah, it's just the main event that's been built terribly, and I don't think anyone's interested in either. And also, can I just point this out, and I say this all the time, apart from the fact that the lighting is so bad, everyone's wearing black. It's just...
I've said that.
It's just a monochrome...
Please,
just ugly.
Wear some color, guys. Black, I don't know. Yeah. They used to tell me, hey, you got anything besides black? I said, I got red. They said, wear the red. So a lot of times I'd switch over into the red, and then but basically my color was black anyway. And some guys can do it, but if you're going to be noticed, wear a color. At least you can. If everybody's got on black in the ring and they said, well, who are you talking about? Oh, the guy in black. Well, hell, everybody's got black on. So anyway, they should wear color.
I think they're trying to do the NWO thing, but they don't have any T-shirts, like a team T-shirt or anything. So they all just wear black. And then Orange Cassidy was wearing black jeans for some reason, even though he usually wears blue. So yeah,
and that's another thing. Just wearing the jeans. They don't have. Do they have a seamstress backstage? I'm sure they do.
They've got like a Gap around the corner that I think they get half the stuff from.
At a discount.
At a discount, yeah.
They got the big discount right around the corner. Yeah. I'm very appreciative of the fact that Tony Khan has formed another company, gives the guys somewhere to go. But a lot of these guys he hires, they haven't really suffered in being a wrestler. They didn't like when I started. Hell, you could go a week, and sometimes, guys on regular jobs made more money than you did. You just didn't have to get up early in the morning. But you were, by the time they were sleeping, you're driving on the road. But I think they need to suffer a little more, and then they would appreciate what Tony Khan does so much better. So a lot of times you can say, well, he may be treating them too good. And the argument could be made for that too. Because this business it's not an easy business to learn and a lot harder to stay in it and get yourself. And that's why a young guy, a young wrestler needs to watch every match. Because Steve Austin told me one time, I asked him, I said, what do you do during the matches? Because he was on first. He said, I watch every match every night. And he did. So I would catch him in WWE. If somebody wanted to know where Steve was, he was on the stage or he was looking through a door or somewhere. But he was watching all the other matches, trying to determine what he could do different than they were doing. And he found it. He found it in character. And nobody could do the Stone Cold character but him. He's the only one who could do it. Nobody else could even copy it, because if he went to Vince and said, hey, the guy's copying my character, stop him. Well, he was stopped right then because he was over. But he started that, paying attention to all the other guys' matches a long time before he got to WWF. And it worked for him. So that was what I would recommend to all those guys. Watch every match. If you want to learn this business, watch every match. And if you really want to learn it, do some research on it. Go to YouTube, watch these matches, and watch what they do.
John Laurinaitis is getting divorced. Finally. Can you believe?
The Bella twins are probably happy.
Yeah. Well, she's getting divorced as well, Nikki Bella, against that guy who
the guy that they got for, the guy they got for domestic violence.
Yep.
Well, I don't blame them. If they're not happy in their marriage, get out of it.
Why did it take so long? Why did it take so long? I mean, this was what? This all came out in January?
It's taken a while.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. They were probably apart, and they may have been trying to work it out, and they couldn't work it out. So, hey, end it. Get out of it. But the Bella's mother, I didn't even know she was married to John Laurinaitis to about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, she was in Total Divas or Total Bellas. She was one of the, Johnny Ace.
Yeah, I don't watch that show. So I didn't even know that. And then I heard it. I went, I'll be damned. That damn Johnny Ace, he's not missing a trick anywhere. So, but anyway, and I never liked Laurinaitis anyway. I thought he was a snake, and it was all for him. If you could do something that would benefit him, yeah, he'd be all for it. But if you wanted him to stand up for you, he wouldn't do it. So, and he was the liaison between Vince and the talent. He was the cog in between. So, anybody that had an ounce of sense about him wouldn't even talk to Laurinaitis. You would go straight to Vince. You would try to leapfrog him and get through there.
I've never asked you this. Johnny Ace, I mean, how many conversations did you have with him over the time? Or how long did it take for you to realise just to ignore him and just go straight to Vince?
No, I knew about him before he even got there.
Oh, really? He was keeping you in.
His reputation preceded him.
Right.
And I knew how he was before because I'd heard stories about him.
What was his reputation? I'm not talking about just hiring catalogue models and stuff like that, but what was his reputation professionally with talent?
Well, with time, he was just a snake, basically. Don't tell him nothing you don't want anybody to know, because he'll tell everybody, plus add on to it a little bit. So, and to the negative.
Would he try and trap you? Would he try and trap you and... You know that kind of thing where, like, oh, what do you think of this guy? Then if you said something negative, then spread it around.
Well, he would, I guess, but not to me, because I didn't talk to him that much. I never trusted him. I could look at him and say, hey, here's a guy who wanted to be a wrestler. Now he's wearing a suit and tie, running around. And he took the quickest route possible to get to the boss. And because I think he was coming up with some finishes in Japan, and he was supposed to be a great finish guy. I never saw it, but that's what he was supposed to be. But, when you get around somebody and you have an odd feeling around them, Can you imagine me sitting and talking to Vince and Laurinaitis at the same time?
Oh God,
I-
you don't want to be in between those two.
You know, they're really affected me like something's not right here. The chemistry is not right here. And the first chance I get, I'm going to excuse myself out of this meeting and take off.
Did you ever hear any stories about Johnny Ace? I don't mean this in the literal way, but in a sense, but screwing over talent or trying to get them in trouble needlessly.
I never heard any stories, but because you can't believe everything you hear in the dressing room. If some guys don't have a ironclad reason to why something was denied or they didn't get a push, you know, I mean, Laurinaitis was right there. You could just blame him, period. Well, he doesn't like me. And that could work for anybody. But let me say this, I heard more negative things about John than I heard positive things.
Brian Danielson alluded to possibly John Laurinaitis not being part of the family for much longer. This was a few months ago, and considering he's a lovely person who says basically nothing bad about anyone, that was fairly telling that Brian Danielson was basically saying, yep, he's not going to be around much longer. So, but the thing is that I wanted to mention is that at the very, very least, a string of affairs under his belt, and at the very worst, a coercive, probably at the very best coercive, using his power within WWE for coercive purposes, for his own pleasures, and at the worst, a rapist. So,
okay, John Laurinaitis was infamous for his treatment of the divas and those extracurricular affairs he had. You know, it got back to the Bellas, and then they would tell the mama, and now all he's doing is sowing discord in that family and making it hell for everyone. So what Brian Danielson said, he won't be missed. And get him out of the way and get that roadblock behind us, and let's go on.
Right, I've got 2 news stories left. Do you want to talk about Low-Ki or do you want to talk about Rikishi?
Low-Ki.
Okay, then. A transcript I got from Fightful. So Low-Ki spoke about his time as Kaval in WWE, which he debuted as a rookie on NXT during its game show era. You know, like it's almost like the last era of Tough Enough. They do like challenges every week. Kaval won the season and challenged Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental title at Survivor Series 2010. He said, "Everything that I had to go through in that company, I had answers for to try to improve upon. And I was still met with resistance. I was still being met with the carny nonsense from these office people," he said. "Hell, I had one of the writers tell me, with your qualifications, if this was any other job, you would have been brought in as a CEO. But for whatever reason, they bring you in as a rookie." What do you think about that?
Well, that was the backstage environment of WWE under Vince. Vince wanted it his way. It was going to be his way or no way. And I guess if you were smart, you would go Vince's way, because if you didn't, then he would just give you your walking papers and you could walk out the door.
Yeah, but he's got no leverage in this position. He's a rookie.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. But maybe Vince saw it another way, wanted to make him a rookie. And he wanted to make him rookie because I think that would make WWE look better, that they brought this low-level talent in and built him up and up and up. And I think Vince saw him eventually going up and maybe challenging for a title or doing something like that. But Low-Ki didn't see it that way, so I don't know if that affected him in the beginning, because if it affected him in the beginning, it carried over to later because Vince saw it. So, and Low-Ki, I've had several dealings with him. It's great talent. I'd take it away from, but if he didn't want to do it, he would just he wouldn't make it look like crap. But you could see he was just half-hearted into it. And he'd do it, but he would make it look like not as good as it could have been. So, and he wanted to debate and talk about a finish, you know, just over and over and over again. When you tell him, let's have it like this, because I've been in the business, I don't know, 20 years more than he has. So somebody has to, when I was an agent in TNA, and I didn't do too much, but I would tell them, this is what we got to have. Oh, can we do it this way? Can we do it that way? Well, we can do it that way, but we prefer you to do it this way. And announcers knew what to say. But sometimes I would just give in to them. I said, do it however you want. Screw it. Because, and I'm gonna go to what somebody said earlier, to what they said to Moxley. The first match anyway, what difference does it make? So I'm not going to worry myself sick over this because it's your career you're dealing with.
I like how it says with your qualifications. It's like, what qualifications did he have, or even theoretically in wrestling would he have?
I have no idea. We don't bring you in as a CEO.
Do you know who they had on the roster at that time? The Undertaker. Triple H was a CEO, or near enough. Your John Cena's, or your Randy Orton's, or your Shawn Michaels who just left. You know, there were ample amount of people on that roster who, if you, with far more quote unquote qualifications than he has ever had. So yeah.
There were some guys who could walk in and tell Vince, let me ask you something. But they would do it in a respectful way. Undertaker say he didn't want to do something. He would go in there and he would say, Vince, does this make sense to you? And he'd lay it out. And Vince says, well, you know, pal, you got a point there, because he had a valid point. So, and he said, no, let's do it your way. So he'd go tell the agent. You know who else could do that? John Cena. Mm-hmm. John Cena could do it. Kane could do it. Stone Cold Steve Austin could do it. The Rock could do it. Triple H could do it. He had his own crew to where if they didn't like what the writers had for them, they'd go and see Vince, because I don't think Vince heard the whole show. He heard the overall version of it or vision of it, but he didn't hear the itty gritty of it till he got to the talent. And the talent would go in and they would say, they want me to do this. What do you think? And he would listen to Vince's account. He would listen to it, and more often than not, the higher the guy, you know, Vince would agree with him.
Let me give you some of the roster members who would maybe have made better CEOs than Low Key. Alicia Fox, I'm just kidding. Big Show, Chris Jericho, Christian, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Edge. I mean, crikey, Dolph Ziggler, Finlay, Goldust,
Yep.
Dustin Rhodes. There is ample amount of people. I've only got to like the D's. John Cena, as I said before. Kane. Anyway, I don't know what.
No,
the fact, okay, he didn't say that. This writer said that to him, but then he's bringing up what this writer said to back up his story that he was amazing in WWE and they missed the ball and he was trying to improve stuff. But the fact is, when you've got like 150 people on the roster, you don't want to hear what the 140th most important wrestler on the roster wants to say.
First thing with Low Key that he had working against him was his size. He wasn't a big guy. And I'm not saying size is everything. Size is measured by who your opponents are. But nobody would have believed him against Undertaker. Nobody would have believed him against, Kane, or against John Cena, or against Stone Cold Steve Austin. The thing that he had working against him, Low Key, was he wasn't a good talker. Great worker.
Good voice.
Oh, he had a great voice. But when he gets in there with Taker and Kane, and you know what they're thinking? This guy is making me look bad. And so they can only be one guy, the size those guys are. Only one guy should be able to look bad in a match. And they would make the decision for him, and it would be a horrible match. Because I don't think they would listen to much that Low Key had to say, because he wasn't strong enough on the political end, on the totem pole, so to speak, to make them listen. And that's why Vince started him out as a rookie, and then build him. But he didn't want that. He wanted to come right in and start contributing. And I don't blame him there. You can't blame him there. But That's what Vince saw his position as, and he didn't like it.
You see, when he was complaining to you in TNA, what you should have actually done was made him CEO. That would have been better. Right.
I could have, because we needed one.
Let's go. Let's end this because I need to do things to decongest my head. So on that basis, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Questions for Dutch@gmail.com. Please email there if you want your questions answered for the Ask Dutch Anything episode that is out every single Friday on YouTube, every single Tuesday, on YouTube and all podcast platforms. Storytime with Dutch Mantell is, of course, out every single Friday on the same platforms, all of them. And until then, I guess we will see you on Tuesday. So, Dutch, with the people.